Okay, this board special session is called to order. We're meeting for the purposes of a report from Straight Line. And you want to go, or just turn it over to them?
No, we're going to turn it over. They run all the numbers across the entire corporation, and they're going to give us an insight into how we could potentially save on our energy over the next 20 years and immediately, and give us really a breakdown on solar tonight. So I'm just going to let them take it away.
Can you all hear me okay if I stand right here instead of go over to the microphone?
Yes.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. My name is Bob McKinney. I'm with Stratalign. I'm joined by my coworker, Chris Boyles. Real quick, Stratalign is an energy services owner's rep firm. In translation, we work for school corporations and municipalities to empower them with your data so you can make informed decisions on what, if any, energy conservation measures will help your operating budget. In our effort to conduct this study, we approach it from multiple angles. We do a utility analysis, so we review your energy use for the past 2 years at an hourly cadence. So we want to understand every hour of every day how that energy is being consumed by your mechanical and electrical equipment at the school corporation. We also do a detailed utility rate tariff, and the word tariff has been used in the news a lot, but a tariff for your rates is different. It's the name they give the rate plan you're on. It's the structure for how a utility company charges their customers. So each building that has a meter has a rate tariff based on your consumption of energy, and that's determined by your utility company. So what we're looking at there is how effectively are you using energy as it correlates to your rate plan, and that's why having your hourly use data is very important for the conduction of our report. Once we have that information digestible in-house, we then marry that with your mechanical systems that you have in place. So I do want to take a quick step back and thank your team. Your team has been very helpful to us. We do need to make site visits. We do need access to a lot of your data. So both Steves have been very helpful with us, as has Renee. She's been, very patient with all the information we've requested. You guys keep great records. We also had access to your utility online portals, so we could download the data, save everybody time. So that was a huge help. Without your team, we wouldn't be able to do our job. So again, once we had our data, we then toured your facilities, and Steve was very helpful in shedding light on certain things that the data was telling us. We have a better understanding of how your control systems are and aren't working. We have an understanding of your equipment, what's being replaced, and potentially when it's being replaced. For example, chillers or controls for the cooling side in your high school, middle school building. And that's important information as we then move to our final phase in your report, which is your energy conservation measures. So we are agnostic to a solution. We are very critical of a solution making sense for our clients. And so what we typically find when going through our analysis is there are typically free things you can do to save money. And our hope is there's enough free items that fund any investments or partially fund any investments you would need to make down the road. So we did find some opportunities for you guys to save money by making some changes with the team you have inside your current control systems. It will save some money. And then we look a step further into what should be done immediately to save money in your operating fund. And then we do look out. We understand you're replacing equipment, and we also understand if money wasn't an issue and you could borrow money to save money in your operations fund, there may be some investments you would consider making. That's really your call, but we wanted to present that in our report. So I'm going to quickly highlight this report. Copies will be made, digital copies available to you. It's a very detailed report. We start very high level in the front. The deeper you go, the more detail you can get. We have links to sub-reports so you can see all the homework we've done for you guys. Before we jump into that, one of the things that Steve and Renee shared with us when we first engaged is you have a solar array. So congratulations on putting that in years ago. It is a great hedge. Chris is a master electrician and comes from the renewable energy world. Chris, at Steve's request, did a deep dive into your current array. And one of the questions is, are they working? And if so, how well? So Chris is going to share information on that just so you can kind of understand what you currently have and how it's performed, and then we can roll back into our information.
Thanks, Bob. Chris will for energy sources. I did go ahead and Bob left my copy, probably writing. So much, I want you guys to have something to take home with you. This will be the same thing you're looking at up there, and as he did mention, this is an investment you guys made in 2017. From what I could gather, I think it went online somewhere around the end of October of 2017. So what we've done is on the second page, and I know I'm jumping around, but this is a printout from your guys' energy monitoring system that Steve went ahead and shared some of the log information so we can get in and do a deep dive to make sure that this is operating. When you made this investment, it is forward-looking, and it was the goal here is to hedge for rising utility rates. In 2017, you had no idea that they were going to go up at the rate they are today. There was a couple other unknowns. You had no idea net metering was going to go away. You might have known it was going to change in 2018. Net metering is being able to put your power back out on the grid, and there'll be a credit for what you're putting back out on the grid and what you're purchasing. That's kind of the layman's terms for it. But in 2018, the year after you put this on, it changed. In 2017, when you engaged in net metering, you had a lifetime till the lifetime of your net metering was to 2047. For some reason, they chose July 1st. Mid-year 2047. 2018, it got cut down to 2035. In 2022, it went away entirely. And so it switched to what they call EDG, access distributed generation. All right. And that's just your credits are then wholesale times 1.25. So diminish your return on investment. Not entirely, but it's not the same as that one-for-one credit. And so great job in investing in 2017. We had no idea those things were coming, but this is part of getting out in front of different regulatory changes, raising the utility rates, inflation, things that are unknown that you don't know about. So
Excuse me, Chris, because we did it in 2017, we were grandfathered in, and those changes that you just described did not apply to us. Is that a correct statement?
That is a correct statement, yes. So you engage in a contract with Duke Energy, and that contract is good until 2047, July 1st, 2047. And at that time, you'll then go to whatever is that. Right now, we'll assume it's EDG, who knows, in 2047. But I mean, that's you're good until that point. So all the financial modeling that was done in probably 2016, 2017, when this was being developed, all reflects that you're good until 2047.
And when we changed in 2022, how much did that hurt us?
None.
So that was just
Your grandfather in.
So we're still on
You're on net metering
net metering?
Yep.
until 2047.
That's correct.
Okay.
And so even when it changed in 2018, it didn't matter. So people that would have put a system in 2018 then could only have net metering until 2035. People that put a system in 2022 then don't have net metering. But anybody that was prior to those dates is grandfathered throughout that whole contract period. And so one of the things we wanted to understand, so we knew that history, that you guys were good for a while, but we don't know what your solar system and how it's producing, what it's doing, and if it's actually giving you the return on investment that was, promised to you 8 years ago. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to get in and really see if there's been any errors, faults, and when Mr. Sean and I had spoke, we thought maybe there might have been, and we were here on a day just seeing, it's so hard to see a snapshot of a single day and predict what your system is doing. So we really wanted to get in there and really understand it. And we were pleasantly surprised to see that it has not only been producing at, but above what it was expected to. So on this graph here, you have it there as well, the table on the top right, this one with the squiggly blue lines, you can see that it kind of caps every time. What this is it's production, and so what its max power is over the course of, all of these are over the course of a year. over the course of the last 12 months. And this is a 1 megawatt AC or 1,000 kilowatt AC system. So that's the power that you can put back out on your grid. It can't go above that. That's where it's clipped out at. That's what your contract's with. And this just shows that for the majority of the year, you hit that mark, which is excellent. You're not going to hit it as much in the January or the November or December. You don't have as much sunlight. We're in the northern hemisphere, so there's less. The sun doesn't cross as high as it does during the summer months. But that simple fact that you've hit it for most of the year, other than a few dips here or there, there's something going on right here. There might have been some faults or some errors, and for some reason, or just was that cloudy for 3 weeks. But other than that, it's excellent. So that's what that one's showing. This one here is showing your performance, and there is a legend over here. The blue being measured, so this is what was actually measured each time. Orange being modeled. Yeah, blue being measured, so that's what you actually produced. Orange is what the system designer or developer that put the system in for you guys said that you probably will get, and then the green is just your index. So it's just indexing the whole thing. If you go along this, you can see that you are trending right there. Sometimes over what they modeled, sometimes under, but it trends perfectly. And this is just another representation of that performance with some of the same metrics, and then kind of a little snapshot of what it looks like by month. This ratio right here shows that if it was 1, that means it's perfect. That's exactly what they modeled. If it's over 1, you guys outperformed. As you can see in this snapshot, it outperformed every month. And so what this is saying is that your system is operating as it's supposed to. It is producing. It's doing exactly what they said it would do, if not more than what they said it was going to do. Well, what does that mean? What that means is when we did our in-depth our in-depth utility analysis of this facility, we saw that there was a need for that meter where you guys are you're putting solar generation on, and it's, as we can see here, it's working really well. What that means is it was probably masking a bigger problem over the last 8 years. So if you're still paying a pretty high electricity bill, if you're still buying a bunch of energy from the utility company, why? I mean, we knew they capped it at 1 megawatt because that's as much as this Duke allows you to put on it. So that's part of the reason, but there's another reason. And getting into the utilities, we learned that you guys are using a lot of energy at night. And so during the day, there's solar, and if you're overproducing, it's going on the grid. But then at night, you're buying a tremendous amount of power from Duke Energy. And so as the rates are escalating over the last 3 to 5 years, you're getting hit harder and harder and harder. So yes, you have solar, and it's producing really well, and it's doing great, but it's also masking a larger problem. And so if you didn't put the solar in, you would have probably noticed this maybe a year or two ago. And I'm not saying that's at the fault of the solar. It's still doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. You probably would be sitting here doing the same thing today, but it did identify another problem that's on that meter. So solar is part of the solution. It's not all of the solution, I guess is what my point is there. Any questions thus far? That was a ton of information on solar.
They found the problem.
That's what I was going to say. Why are we using so much at night?
Well, we will definitely get into that, especially as Bob starts getting through the feasibility report. We did that in-depth analysis of what's going on right now and how we can fix that moving forward. What I want to at least convey is that what you did 8 years ago, it worked. It did its job. It was a good, sound investment. It hedged your bets. There's a graph at the bottom of the first page I handed around. What this is retail energy rates. Red being pretty aggressive. That's where we're trending right now. It's not going to keep going at that rate. Blue is probably a little too conservative. It's probably going to fall somewhere in between those two. What the green line is what you're buying your energy from your own solar field at. That's the best way I can put that. We call it the LCOE, levelized cost of energy. You invested in something at the power generation source, so you're buying your own power because that was your investment. So it levelizes throughout that entire time. And based on pretty rough numbers and estimates about what we believe you invested in that's your levelized cost. So that means that, for the first couple of years, yes, it was cheaper to buy power from the grid, but over the course of the time of the investment, it'll be far it'll be the cheapest energy source that you can buy. They go into the open market or go into the grid buying. Not really open market, you own choice, you're buying cars and vehicles. That's what it is. And so that's what that represents there. It's just to show you that your investment in that energy source over time does create that hedge that Bob was talking about.
You eliminated the inflation risk in your energy purchase for that 1.5 million kilowatt hours it generates for you every year. And so the
Is there a
delta.
dollar amount on that?
Pardon me?
Is there a dollar amount?
Yeah, so the dollar amount, so we reverse in, well, the system, we got access to your engineering, and we reverse engineered the financials. We went back to Duke Energy's rates in 2017 that were published and ran your utility usage through those. And you were paying somewhere about 7 cents a kilowatt hour back in 2017, 2018. And then we know what today's rates are. And so compounding inflation over the last 7-8 years for the rate tariff on this building is about 9% a year inflation. We see normalized inflation between 5 and 7% over the long term going forward, conservatively. So we were able to see where you were and where you are now and what your savings are for that. Where the real wins come in, or every time Duke Energy has a rate increase, you don't feel it for that energy you're producing. So that avoided cost is what you're seeing here, that red or blue line, wherever your future energy rates may be, the difference between that line and the green line is your net benefit as the facility owner. Duke Energy is pursuing a $3.3 billion rate increase that you're going to have the joy of paying. So on this system, whenever that rate and future rate increases are instituted, you won't pay it. And that's the magic of these systems. To put it in perspective, based on its current production and your current utility rate, so you're generating about 1.5 million kilowatt hours, and your current all-in energy rates between 12.5 and 13 cents. So 1.5 million times 13 cents would be your operational fund savings, 200,000.
Because I was also because our payment was $200,000 a year out of operations. So I was trying to see if that would
You
if
probably
we saved more than we were paying for it to make it. Now we've moved that out of operations, which will help us. But
the financing can be tricky. And, you may have had a 15-year note or a 10-year note, so you're paying down principal. But if you're able to do what you did and transfer it to a debt fund, I mean, every dollar you're saving, so whether it's $175,000, $200,000, that's affecting positively impacting your operating fund, and it is doing that. It is functioning really well.
Yeah, and one last note before we move on from your existing solar array. You could just put another one, right? Theoretically, you could just double it and fix that overnight cost. That's not the best solution, and that's what we're going to help identify today. A good analogy for that would be if you had a leak in your fuel line and just putting in a larger gas tank instead of fixing the leak in the fuel line. And so this is good. This is a good system. This is hedging your bets for utility rates, but there's more to be done. Solar is a large investment. We want to continue to just invest in more and more solar without fixing an underlying problem. So that's just wanted to kind of conclude with that because I don't want to take away from what you guys did. There's just some other work that can be done.
So Chris, going back to 2017, did we make a wise decision, or did this thing pay for itself, or break even, or cost?
So without knowing all of the, and we've done quite, we've put together a workbook on this, and without knowing all the ins and outs, like I was saying, on how it was financed and what the amount was, and what the note was, and where it was financed out of, we ran it as just flat cash. If you just bought this in cash for what we could find in the news article at $3 million, its break-even point would have been somewhere right around 10 to 12 years, conservatively, maybe sooner, depending on inflation. But there are more things, more variables, more inputs in there. We're just really conservative with that. That being said, yes, you're in year 8, and this system's still outperforming what it's expected to do in year 1. So yes, it was a sound investment. in our opinion. But the actual break-even payback dates are a little more tricky to get. We can get there.
If we could get all the financials, like what you pay, what type of financing you have, what your financing costs were, if there were any tax credits that were passed through to you guys, or rebates or incentives, we can tell you exactly. Another element to look at is that levelized cost of energy. So if you take the total cost of your system and then what the expected maintenance cost of your system is going to be going forward, which we factor in, you're right at 10 cents a kilowatt hour is your cost for your own system. So you hedged, you were paying more than 7 cents for a couple of years, but now your rate's close to 13 cents, so you're saving that 3 cents and it'll never change. So if we look at it through the internal rate of return lens, the net present value lens, the levelized cost of energy lens, what you would have paid in utilities over 20 years with 5% inflation versus what you're paying or avoiding now, each of those boxes were checked, which would indicate it was a good investment. If we're happy to get as granular as you want. If you want to feed us that information, we can try it.
Steve, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
I was just curious, do we have, what kind of warranty do we have on that system, and do we have a maintenance agreement?
16 years, isn't it? And after 16 years, it's up to us.
Yeah, we got a maintenance agreement, and we got about 4 more years on it. That renews every 5. It goes 5 years, but we got 4 years. We just renewed last year.
That should be a.
So it's 12 years, not 16?
We had so many
That's
years
the maintenance
free.
agreement.
I think we had it. When I first started was when we first had to sign our first one, so I think this is our second. We had our first couple of years of free maintenance.
And to speak to the warranty without knowing the manufacturer, most often solar panel manufacturers carry a 25 or 30 year performance warranty. So if it falls below what they project it's supposed to perform, it's warranted. And the same thing with the inverter, those are generally 10 or 12 years. Now, that being said, that's an important note that inverter's doing all of the work. The solar panels don't do anything, they just sit out there and collect the sun. But the inverter is actually doing physical work, so it can and will most likely fail or break at some point in time. We normally model those in about year 10 to 12, 15, depending on the inverter. So you're 8 years in, there's a chance that there will be a maintenance cost in 5 to 10 years on the system. And so that is just something we should consider. But as of right now, with the current maintenance plan and warranties,
And the only way to know if there's a maintenance issue would be if that starts to fall.
that's right. There's actually alerts, and we've gone through this.
Yeah,
They'll notify us if there's an alert that happens.
They've actually had to come and fix a few things through the warranty, through the maintenance agreement.
Yeah, I did a lifetime check on the alerts, and there were a few, and they were cleared up, and they were resolved, and there was good notes in there, and so monitoring is very important for these types of systems. You want to be able to sit back and know nothing's happening, and somebody else is taking care of the problem.
It seems like 20 years is in my mind for some reason when we did that. Do you remember? Something about 20 years when we first, because that was one of the questions we asked.
20-year life, so.
Yeah, on that.
Yeah, I remember saying that it could last as long as 45 years. I heard that statement
Yeah.
when they were talking about it.
I think if properly maintained, I mean, there are systems that Bell Labs has modules on that we put in the 60s that are still functioning at like 85% of the nameplate capacity. So again, back to maintenance, whenever your current maintenance is up for renewal, if you want us to review your current one now and advise when it's ready to renew, it is worth, it's not that expensive, it is worth just making sure it's maintained properly. When we were with Mr. Steiner, he has this comes from a dashboard, or I should say from software that's tied into your system. He was easily able to get us in there, let us poke around, and it's that software that's alerting the contractor, and also with fleet, you get alerts as well.
I get it from them alert me.
Okay, all right. Which is good, you want to be proactive like that.
As soon as it goes unnoticed, and if there isn't somebody keeping track of it, and it's not producing for 2 months, that's a significant hit on your investment that you made on it. So it is important to make sure that it is properly maintained and monitored. That does happen, believe it or not. A lot of people make the investment and forget about it a few years later. That's sad, but it happens. You guys have it. It's working great. It's time. It's good.
One of the things that I learned just by all this is the system that we have is as big as what we can have for that one system. Because I'd always ask, like, what? And so we already knew going into, when they did the solar project, they knew that there would still be a Duke bill or more need than what the biggest, that's the biggest that we could have done at that time.
That's right. And that's a great point. And that's kind of what I meant by masking it. Is you got to see this huge credit and less, your bills were so much smaller right after this was put in, and that felt good. So when they went up a little bit, you didn't notice it as much. If you didn't have it, you would have noticed a lot you could put in for your own generation.
So what, and forgive me if I'm getting ahead of the cart, but, we had Duke come in, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, we did some dealings with Duke where we changed out ballast, went to LEDs, did all this stuff.
Yeah.
Now we have went ahead and even got an idea of what's costing us, especially at night. I mean, if is that our biggest enemy right now?
Yeah,
Yep.
And
Jump into that.
You're going to tell us?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Happy to. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely.
Real quick before we jump into it, I want to give you guys a snapshot of what's going on with the 4 public utilities in Indiana. This is a historical chart for all 4. It's a blend of the 4 public utilities, commercial rates. So school corporations are on commercial rates. Commercial rates are the least protected rate. It's a whole other conversation. The residential rate has a very strong lobby group advocating for the residents. And the industrial group has a very strong lobbying group. So currently, the commercial ratepayers are paying approximately 120% of what they should be paying to supplement the residential ratepayers. It's just a fact. So it's why this graph is the most egregious of those 3 categories. So again, blended rate, what you have on the right side of your chart here is the average total all-in cost. So there's a published rate tariff, and it might say 5 cents a kilowatt hour, and then there are riders and adjustments that the utilities are allowed to pass through on your bill. So if you look at a bill, the largest one you're going to see it's called TDSIC, Transmission, Distribution, Storage, and Infrastructure Charge. Utility companies are allowed to recoup costs that they didn't budget for anywhere else, and they're allowed to pass that through on your bill retroactively. And so that's why if you look at, if you think you should be paying 12 cents per kilowatt hour, if you look at every month, it could be 12.2, 13.1, and that's that charge. That's one charge. That makes up about 5% of the inflation a year currently. So just that alone is going up, causing your bill to go up 5% a year. You have fuel cost adjustment riders, you have all sorts of different riders, environmental riders that are passed through. So when you add all those up and divide by your usage for this is all published information that we obtained from the public utility companies in the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission. And you can see that the rates were around 8 cents, 8.5 cents on average. Duke is, good news for you guys, historically Duke has been the lowest of the 4. Rates have essentially almost tripled in the last 15 years. And you see that little hockey stick, where it starts to go up around 2020 pretty significantly. And there's what's going on there is the current energy generation supply can't meet the new demand. And the new demand is, infrastructure is, first of all, it's aging, it has to be replaced. That's one of the costs. But the demand increase has been caused by the advent of all the technology, and so we have to build more infrastructure. Utilities have to build more infrastructure to keep up with that. And so there's a lot of replacement and also advancement of the infrastructure being created. So that's a quick history. Just wanted to also share with you a forecast. So the Indiana State Utility Forecasting Group is published through Purdue University, and each utility company publishes forecasts. Public companies, all the information's available. So in taking that information that's available to all of us, we broke it down and put it into a graph, and over the next 10 years, the forecasting doesn't go out 20 years. It's pretty loose once you get past 10 years. We're seeing utility rates on average for average rate. Again, you're on the low end currently, so yours may not be this high in 10 years, but doubling in 10 years. I have a client on AES. We met with AES, or one of AES's top 5 energy users. And AES came into the meeting with their own one of these and told my client, your energy rate's going to double by 2035. So this is just an example of where rates are likely going, and trying to highlight the importance of getting ahead of it. You guys have got a great head start with your solar field, so you're already making strides. Sorry, I skipped one, I believe. Yeah, that was. So this is just a general example of our average client base. So if you take our average client base, average school size about 150,000 square feet, when we add up all elementaries, high school, middle school for an average client, using the amount of energy we're able to, on average, help our clients reduce. This is a snapshot of what's happening. So this is what we would say, this is the cost of doing nothing, or the benefit of making an investment. So on an average client of ours in that size building, 150,000 square feet, we're typically able to find about $60,000 in year one savings, which benefits the operating fund. Over 10 years at 5% inflation, we're a very conservative. We're not trying to sell our clients projects. We're trying to help you not invest in poor ones and use your money as wisely as possible. So 5% inflation, you would save about $830,000 in 10 years by making modest energy reductions. That's the impact of that, the avoided cost benefit. So it's not your snapshot. That is a typical average snapshot, and we've been working with clients for quite a while. So I just wanted to share just a little bit of historical, and then kind of what may be coming with the utility firms. Now I'll jump into your guys' report. And again, if you haven't received it already, we'll make sure copies are forwarded to you, so you can see it electronically and really drill down however far you would like. So I'm going to just start with what you've been asking. What can we do? And so what can be done on your energy use overnight? When we were touring your buildings, Mr. Steiner was really quick to say, hey, we don't have controls on our cooling side of our equipment. The controls are defunct, and you guys are budgeting for your capital planning for those. So he pointed it out just so we knew when we were looking at data that could be a reason. So I wanted to share that. It's not an unknown, it's just, I think the impact of what's going on was probably a little bit of a surprise. So when we looked at your, what we call 8760 data, which is your hour, that's 8,760 hours a year, what we'd like to see outside of your normal operating hours, we understand buildings get used some nights, and we noticed that around 9 o'clock, most healthy school buildings you should see the power curve, the demand, the KW curve, start to ramp down. And then it ramps down. You want to maintain a building, and each building has its own set of challenges to maintain, but you don't want a building to, in the wintertime, go down to 60, because you're never going to regain it by the time the kids get in the classroom, and you're getting a bunch of calls from angry teachers, and that's not a good thing. So while maintaining the healthy operation of a building, we still would like to see your KW at night be about 20 to 30% of your peak power usage during the day. And right now it's about 80%. So right there we could see, here's an opportunity. The good news is the opportunities that have been identified are the lower cost, higher payback. And so what are they? The first one that we put here, and these three really need to work together. So an energy monitoring and management system is a dashboard like you saw there for your solar field. It shows you in real time everything we have in our report. So what is our energy use? What's the demand use? What's the kilowatt hour use? Where is it being used? Are the chillers pulling it right now? Are the boilers pulling it? And then it's able in real time to make recommendations on what needs to be done at that point in time. It can also be programmed to beat the rate tariff that you're on at its own game. So it's sort of a gaming system where you can use the least amount of energy when they're trying to charge you the most. In order for that to function or be impactful to you, your control systems have to function. As Steve pointed out, you really don't have control over your cooling side of this building. There's some control, but it's not the type of control where you can program it and check in with it. And that's why it's not allowing you guys to set back at nighttime.
So if it's only the cooling system controls, and I read that the heating system controls are working properly, right?
No, they're not either. We're still in the process. Right now, we got two systems. We still got the old train, we still got a bunch of that. They're in the process that still has the old controls in the VAV boxes. And a lot of the air handlers, or some of them, have been upgraded to the new, but they're not able to talk together. So we're having to run things longer than what we should. Once they get it done, we can make it all work like it's supposed to.
As part of this.
We're having cold rooms in the mornings to go keep it on.
Yeah, no, he wouldn't be able to get his building back. He's aware. It's just he has to run the equipment because it can't modulate, it can't communicate with your other systems. So believe it or not, in the wintertime, you have to, it seems counterintuitive, but you have to run cooling in conjunction with your heating. And in the summer, you have to run heating to dehumidify or to warm up the cold air that's dehumidifying. So you might be calling for 59-degree air in the summer. Nobody wants 59-degree air, so your boilers are reheating to get you up to 70. And if they're not communicating, you can't do that efficiently. And so yes, you have some new controls, but that's why I said these all three need to work together. So retro commissioning, it's an overused term in our industry, and utility companies offer rebates for retro commissioning. This is, and in your report we put a detail what it truly means. But what retro commissioning is, it's taking your existing system, control system, and we're looking at the front end, which is the points in your control system. Are all of the points in your control system there? A point being like this boiler is online, your chiller's online, and then can those points and can your controls graphics actually impact your system's operation, meaning do the dampers actually open and close because the actuators are functioning? All of that is tested through the retro commissioning process to ensure that it can do what your controls are asking it to do. And then you commission that system, meaning, so what is commissioning? Commissioning, you have a new system that you just put in. It was tested and balanced, but commissioning is optimizing its operations to meet your expectations. Meaning if you need 70-degree air in the summer or 72 in the winter, it will optimize how that's done given the rate tariff you're on, meaning you can set way back at night, start to ramp it up. And you might not need to ramp it up where you turn it from 0 to 100. You might start at 0 and 10 and 20, and you time it so you don't pay those rates when they're most expensive. And so all of those three things together will give you that freedom and help you lower your costs. So we went through your buildings and fairly high level, looked at your current controls. Steve was really helpful at letting us know what's coming with budgeting for replacements. But even in our experience, buildings that have relatively new controls still may have downline, like actuators and dampers, that need to be fixed. And so we calculated, it would be more exact if you moved forward through an RFP, but these are very accurate numbers, within 10% of where you would be. We still believe you will need to replace, even on your new system, some of the downline equipment to function properly. So that is where the bulk of your savings can be found, is through your controls. You've lost control of your buildings, and there's a roadmap to get you back. And it's really, I don't want to get in the weeds, it's really about lowering that KW, not your kilowatt hour, but the instantaneous power that you draw, because the power companies are charging you for that power. So if you set a demand at 1,000 kW, you won't pay less than 60% of that for the next year, even if you never get back up to it. And so these systems can help you demand shave and continuously lower your utility costs. So our study really leaned into the control side. Like you pointed out, you've done a lot of the kilowatt hour stuff. You've done a lot of LED lighting. You have solar. You have fairly efficient mechanical equipment that's operating. So it's really the control side where you can find operational savings.
This was savings for 1 and 2 to be exactly the same. Is that combined savings, or is that savings for each one?
For 1 and 2? It's so 1 and 2 have to work together, and so without one, you're not going to get the other. So we split. It's about 50-50 or 60-40 in the real world. So we split with 50-50.
So it's 1.4 million in total. You just split it in 2.
Yeah, the total. All three of those energy conservation measures together are 1.556 million. The total budget for those 1, 2, and 3.
So Steve, are we currently online to get everything replaced so that our systems can start talking?
Yes, they're, in the end, everything, all of our controls are supposed to be upgraded to the new. They're limited on when they can work on it because it disrupts school and IAB. So, like spring break, summer break, that's when they hit it the hardest.
It's part of our current $4 million budget.
So I'm going to go back to my question. The cost is 1.556 million. What's the savings for 1 through 3? I see 1 and 2.
About 2.7 million over 20 years. For 1 through 3, year 1 savings is about $80,000. Prior to the short term, just take a quick step back. When I mentioned there's also some no-cost opportunities, and our report goes into all of the details, so I'll spare you that. But there's an opportunity there's 3 opportunities for Steve and his team to go through. And we created a roadmap for some modifications they can make now to save. It's not a ton, but it's about $36,000 in annual savings. And we put a plan together, specifications for his team. We've offered to come assist when ready. It's going to take a little bit of data logging and trial and error, but we felt within a month or 2 we could assist Steve in getting that corrected. So, that's an immediate start. We've taken community action.
Is that 1.5 million? Steve, is that above and beyond our bond money that we put in place to get all these upgrades done now? Is that additional money?
The controls would be part of that, right?
Yeah,
we would be part of that already, so that total figure would really be less for our next bond, because we've got the other one in the back way.
I think you mentioned in our call when we reviewed with Steve and his team, somewhere around $350,000 worth of controls were still yet to be completed.
We don't have the exact figure yet.
Okay.
We're working on our.
Yes, yeah. If that's in an already bonded scope and you've accounted for it, we'd modify this report and take that out. There will be some controls upgrades needed, as I mentioned, some at the control level, some downstream, but whatever you guys have already either purchased or designed, would come out of that. The cost would go down.
This is also for all of the buildings, so it's not just this building, it would also be for the elementary and the annex.
So, Steve, again, everything's planned out, we're going to do it. Do we have a timeline? Do we want to be done by X?
I want it done today.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
they haven't got the timeline, Ken. We're still working on it.
I mean, like, what's the potential of this dragging out for another year or
Oh, I think it's gonna go on
no?
probably for a while, yeah.
Really?
Get the VAVs and air handlers and all the controls upgrade.
Do you have to go through, I know, separate from do you still need to go through the procurement process on the pieces Steve's talking about? Would you still need?
So Kevin's already started working on, I've got a note here, I'm gonna call him tomorrow and find out where we are. And then if we need to, then start moving towards the next 4 million, because we're getting towards the end of, because we have 2 chillers on that already and some other things, so.
What I would propose, I'm not asking for a vote, what I would just throw out for your guys' consideration outside of us being here, we have so much data that will be helpful to the installers, whoever is selected through an RFP, if they haven't already been selected. There may be pieces where people have been. If they haven't been, what I would propose is, what all have you bonded for that hasn't been done that we could throw into this report? I mean, I know you have some capital replacement items and including those in an RFP that we can help manage, because we can set the guardrails. We are working on a project right now, all new controls in 7 buildings, and those buildings are their worst performers, and it's because they weren't commissioned. In a public bid process, commissioning is never in the scope, and so we can take you through an RFP that gets that in the scope and captures everything. And like your public bid process, it's a competitive bid environment. We will help drive the price down as well. So I just want to offer that. We can help manage so we can get this on tighter timeframes. The contractors that work on our projects are used to working. However, if you wanted this done by the end of summer, the controls piece, we have project managers and their teams will work second shift, spring break, summer. I mean, they'll get it done to meet whatever you need to have done for the prices we budgeted. And so we can help advocate really primarily for Mr. Steiner, because it's a lot to have on one person's plate or a couple people's plate, and we have the horsepower to support that. So we would love to throw our hat in the ring and help you guys manage that procurement process.
Tell me what's wrong with my thinking. It's 1.556 million cost. Where did we start? So I gotta go, Steve. That's 1.566 million in cost and 2.7 million in savings. The payback on that, I mean, roughly you got compounded money and everything. It's like 13 years.
We ran.
That's awfully long.
So so each energy conservation measure in your report has different paybacks. And so the simple payback so we're not factoring in cost of funding because that's paid for out of your debt service fund. I'm inside of our workbook right now, so just kind of showing you that the paybacks range from 9 years down to about 4 years, depending on the building and the energy conservation measure.
Is it worth mentioning here, or have you already covered procurement process in your energy savings contract?
Not yet. And that, you're right, I mean, we can calculate the blended one for you. The true benefit is, you know, if you have the debt capacity, you have to have controls, and they should be installed correctly so you can maximize their benefit. If you have the ability to pay for those out of your debt fund, all of these savings that are calculated hit your operations fund, pay back to the ops fund because it's not encumbered by anything else. And it's in your report. I do want to commentate on budgeting. So when we budget, we get pricing from contractors. We have in-house ability for solar. We do all that in-house. Obviously, we get material pricing. So you can see, we've built out all of these are raw costs. Those are the costs that came in, and then whoever gets hired to do the jobs can put some margin on it. So we interview those folks and ask them what their margin is on the all-in margin, and we use that as a factor here. So it's, it has a 20% margin. Sometimes it's 15, but we want to be conservative for you guys. So it's, we take pride in giving you data that's accurate, and when you would go through an RFP process, the responses would closely mirror this. You're not going to get a budget that's 2x what we're showing you. It might be 10% higher or lower.
Steve, do you know what controls above and beyond what we've already ordered, what we've got on the equipment itself needs to be replaced?
The next thing that would be left would be the art building that has lots of old controls on it. It does have new controls on the gym unit and some on the new chiller, some controls on that end, but all the classrooms, that's all the old stuff.
This building will be all new.
Yeah, it'll all be new.
This
Yeah.
one's done.
The elementary, it's great. It's the one that's been upgraded
That was complete.
pretty much all the way, except the only thing we could do more on it is if we add some separate controls to be able to set back them unit ventilators that are like in the lobbies these days. But the classrooms, the rest of the buildings, it's all been upgraded and it's working pretty good.
So how long would it take, would it be reasonable to say 60 days? Could we come up and get an idea of actual cost above and beyond the bonding that we've already issued for what we've already got going on, right? And then we're really not going to be able to get a true savings until we get all that in place, correct? I mean, we're just guessing.
Steve, to my understanding, right, you have to have all the buildings done before they can start the communication process. In other words, even though you have one completely done, it still can't do its full work until.
It'll come in, it's not necessarily all of it has to be done. It's like sections of the building, and once they get the air handlers and the VADs talking, we'll get that section going.
So there will be potential improvement today, and then do a little bit, and then there'll be improvement tomorrow. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's a work in progress right now. I mean, they'll be doing the chiller work. Actually starting on it right now. Get ready for the new chiller. But, yeah, it's a work in progress, right?
I guess for me, it's just all about, we know our financial situation. And I'm just curious as to what additional above and beyond what we've already approved. And then I don't know if we can even come close to calculating, probably can't, what the actual savings might be.
I think what we could do to help on that end is we could spend a little more time with Mr. Steiner and Mr. Deshawn, and for us, what we would want to understand is what's already been procured. You've gone through procurement, and they just haven't finished installation. And then what hasn't been procured yet, but you've allocated budget for it. And that'll tell us one set of answers. And then let's look at your 5-year plan. And when are you replacing major air handling equipment, chillers, and look at your budget. We can help budget. And then just look at that picture and say what makes the most sense. If we took you through an RFP, we have to, we have a lot of information here. We're clearly we're not complete. So we'll work with your team to round that out. If we went through an RFP, all of that information would be taken into consideration. We'd work with this group here this year, and then they're going to have $1 million in 27, they're going to have $2 million in 28. Contractors will finance without charging. They'll say, look, if we win the project, we'll do it all now because they need to get it all done, and we'll take payment per your payment schedule. So you don't have to wait to start getting your savings. We would propose, it's a different procurement process called the Guaranteed Energy Savings Project process. We put the statute in your study. And we take plans and the specifications we've created. We invite certified, they have to be certified in the state of Indiana, guaranteed energy service contract providers, like you worked with the folks that did your solar. And we take them through the process using our data room, using the specifications that we've agreed to as a group. And it's really no risk to you, because if we create a roadmap and we're like, yeah, we think we could get your $4 million done now, and you pay for it over 3 years, and they don't come in at $4 million and they won't do the finance plan, you don't do it. We're not going to charge you for that. We partner with our clients and say, look, we're going to recommend you go through an RFP. We believe in our data, and we believe in our ability to help you get it done. If we're wrong, you shouldn't pay us. And so we would all it'd be your time and Steve's time that he's helping us out with, which is largely done, and then you'd have an answer. But before we can do that, we've got to learn a little bit more about what you've paid for, what you've approved, and what is coming in the next several years. That's not hard to do. We're happy to sit.
I'm just saying, we come in with these numbers, and I'm not sure, I'm a little bit, we got a tough situation, and if they don't go back and do something with this tax thing, within 2 years, we won't even need to build it, so. And we got to be really careful about how we approach going forward.
Agreed.
We'd have to sell our second set of bonds to continue the work. We've got everything covered to this point, and the new controls that we've got ordered that are coming in this building. But to move beyond that, we'd have to sell this thing. Part of that's allocated already too, so we may have to work on that in the spring. But I will get that information. I'll find out exactly where we are.
We'll work with both Steve's and Renee, and we'll factor that information in, just so you have something to look at to talk about as a group. If you want us to come back, if you want to call us anytime, we're here you guys hired us to provide you with information from which to make a decision. If anything's not clear, you want to see something different, you have questions, we're here to answer them. And please don't hesitate.
So we'll call.
All right, please do.
All right, we're almost aboard today. You guys have any last questions?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for your time. Good to meet you all.
I'll get in touch with you after.